Crowe is known for playing parts that are very intense. Problems arose when these two famous people got together. Their story was one that Hollywood tried to keep secret, from fights on the set to years of personal stress. Now Russell Crowe is speaking out about what it's really like to work with one of the most famous stars in the world. In 1986, Tom Cruise became famous all over the world when he played the brave pilot Pete Maverick Mitchell in Top Gun. It made $357 million, even though it only cost $15 million to make. Fans loved how cool and sure of himself he was. The movie had such a big effect that after it came out, sales of Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses went up by 40%. Cruise started working on Mission Impossible in 1996. It would be the most important movie series of his career. He has been in and directed 7 movies in the series, which have made more than $3.5 billion around the world. In lieu of computer effects, Cruise made sure that the movies were full of exciting real-life stunts. Because he was involved, the show stayed fresh and exciting, and no other star has been in charge of an action franchise for as long. Cruise is famous for how hard he works at stunts. A part of Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, showed him riding a motorbike off a cliff and base jumping into a ravine. There were more than 500 practice jumps over the course of 6 months to get ready for this one moment. During the movie Rogue Nation, he held his breath underwater for 6 minutes, which is a great achievement. A halo jump is a dangerous military leap from 25,000 feet that he did in Fallout. He is known for doing these crazy stunts over and over again, which shows how dedicated he is to giving audiences jaw-dropping action. Nevertheless, Cruise is not only an action star. In dramatic parts, he has also shown how good an actor he is. In Jerry Maguire, he played a sports agent who was trying to find love and success at the same time. His performance in the movie won him a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination, and it made $273 million at the box office. Before, in A Few Good Men, he starred opposite Jack Nicholson in a courtroom thriller that showed he could hold people's attention with intense acting and dialogue. Cruise is successful in more ways than one. He has been the biggest draw at the movies like no one else. His movies have made more than $12 billion around the world, and more than 30 of them have made more than $100 million each. He is still breaking records after decades in the business. As for Russell Crowe, his big break came from 2 very different Australian movies that showed how good he was. In 1992, he played Hando, a hazardous neo-Nazi, in Romper Stomper. People said he looked a lot like Malcolm McDowell from A Clockwork Orange because of how powerful his act was. It made him famous and won him an award as Australia's best talent. 2 years later, in The Sum of Us, he played a nice gay plumber called Jeff Mitchell, which surprised everyone. This part brought out a whole new side of him. Careful, tender, and soft. In Australia, the movie did well, and the story got good reviews. There was a lot of attention in Hollywood. Once he got to Hollywood, he couldn't be stopped. He was nominated for 3 Oscars in a row, from 1999 to 2001, for the movies Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind, and Inside Man. The role of Maximus, a fighter who fights for justice, won him the award. More than $465 million was made from the movie, and it won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. After that, he played John Nash in A Beautiful Mind. Nash was a bright but troubled mathematician. With that part, he won even more awards, including a Golden Globe and a BAFTA. In fact, Crowe made history when he starred in 2 Best Picture wins right after each other, Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. For The Insider, he went even further by putting on 35 pounds and changing everything about how he looked. This showed how far he was willing to go for a part. Crowe is more than just an actor, though. The Water Diviner, his first movie, came out in 2014. In Australia, it won awards and was a popular historical play. Crowe can play music too. Throughout his career, he has played in several bands, including 30-Odd Foot of Grunts and Indoor Garden Party. The Gentlemen Barbers, his band, put on a great show in Leeds in 2024, playing songs by Nick Cave and Leonard Cohen. Crowe fell in love with music when he was young. To make extra cash, he even sang in the streets and put out a song called I Just Want to Be Like Marlon Brando. His life has always been shaped by music. Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise met for the first time at a casual barbecue in Sydney in the summer of 1992. There were a few actors and people in the business at the event, which was organized by Naomi Watts. At the time, Crowe was an up-and-coming star in Australian movies who was just beginning to get noticed. Before he married Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise was already a worldwide star and one of the highest-paid actors in the world. It was Nicole Kidman who brought them together. Crowe's work in Australian movies had caught her attention, and she praised his skill. At the cookout, she brought Cruise over to meet him herself. Crowe later said that it didn't feel like a casual meet-up. Kidman had been telling Cruise how great his work was already, even showing him some of his movies ahead of time. She clearly believed they would get along. She had a point. The small talk that began quickly turned into a deep conversation that went on for hours. While Cruise was very famous, he still found time to watch Crowe's movies, just like Proof and Spots would. Crowe was asked deep questions about how he became an actor and what it's like to work in Australian movies. Crowe thought this was a strange moment. He told a story about a short chat he had with Tom Cruise when he talked about his new movie, The Water Diviner. Crowe talked about how they automatically talked about Scientology. Crowe got involved when he saw a $2.50 deal on a Scientology video at a video shop. He chose to watch it out of interest and as a friendly act toward Kidman. Afterward, Crowe brought it up when he was talking to Cruise. Actually, he wasn't sure how Cruise would react, but he was happily surprised by how calm and polite Cruise was about it all. After a while of talking, Crowe found it most interesting how Cruise closed the conversation. Instead of trying to persuade him or push any beliefs, Cruise simply said, "If it's important to you, you'll do something about it." That one line left a lasting impression on Crowe, who walked away thinking Cruise was a genuinely cool and grounded guy. In 2001, Hollywood was shaken when Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman ended their 10-year marriage. When the divorce happened, Russell had to make a tough choice. He had been friends with both of them for nearly a decade, but he decided to stand by Nicole. Tom's team even tried to convince Russell to keep his distance from her, but Russell refused and told them to back off. For Russell, this wasn't just about taking sides. He saw Nicole as family and felt protective of her. This decision, however, created a rift between him and Tom that never really healed. Things became even more awkward when Russell made a joke about being part of Nicole's settlement package after the divorce. The joke was meant to be funny, suggesting he had naturally joined Team Nicole, but it didn't land well. Though Russell later said the comment came from a place of affection for both Tom and Nicole, it only made things worse. Years later, that tension showed up again when Tom and Russell worked together on The Mummy in 2017. It was their first time acting together, but things weren't friendly. Their on-screen partnership featured a standout scene, a brutal fight between their characters. Filming this scene took 4 full days. Both actors, though in their 50s, insisted on doing all their own stunts. The fight had them smashing each other into walls, glass, and tables, completely destroying the set. The production crew worried they might get hurt, but neither Cruise nor Crowe wanted to back down. Off camera, the tension was impossible to ignore. Crowe reportedly couldn't stand Cruise during filming, with old grudges adding to the friction. The set became divided. Some supported Cruise, who had a strong vision for the movie, while others sided with Crowe, who preferred a more traditional, character-driven approach. Their different ways of working clashed constantly. Crowe focused on depth and storytelling, while Cruise pushed for fast-paced action. Crew members even began documenting their disagreements because the arguments became so frequent. A big part of the problem was Cruise's control over the entire production. His contract gave him the power to approve scripts, oversee editing, and make major changes. He even brought in his own writers to rewrite the movie, making it center more on his character. The project also brought up old emotions. Crowe had been close to Kidman for years, and working with Cruise meant revisiting some of that shared history. Crowe acknowledged the complexity in interviews. Any ending to a relationship like that is heavy, man. It must have been hard for both of them. Their relationship is one of Hollywood's most unique. It started with admiration, went through rocky times after Cruise's divorce, and eventually led to a professional collaboration. This wasn't the only strange case in Tom Cruise's career. In 2005, a very public argument between Tom Cruise and Brooke Shields stirred up a lot of debate about postpartum depression. It all started when Shields published her memoir, Down Came the Rain. In it, she talked about how hard life was after her daughter Rowan was born. Shields suffered from postpartum depression and explained how the antidepressant Paxil helped her feel better. Tom Cruise didn't agree with her choice. During a famous interview on Today's Show with Matt Lauer, Cruise said it was irresponsible for Shields to take antidepressants. He claimed they didn't work and suggested vitamins and exercise instead. He even took a jab at her career, asking, "Where has her career gone?" This upset many people, especially women who had experienced similar struggles. Shields didn't let Cruz's comments go unanswered. She wrote a bold piece in the New York Times telling Cruz to stick to saving the world from aliens and leave decisions about postpartum depression to the women dealing with it. She also pointed out something obvious. "I'm going to guess Mr. Cruz has never suffered from postpartum depression." Her response was sharp, but it also showed just how serious this issue was for so many people. A year later, something unexpected happened. Went to Shields' house to apologize in person. He said he was sorry for the hurtful things he had said, though his views on antidepressants didn't change. Shields accepted his apology, and soon after, she was even invited to Cruz's wedding to Katie Holmes in Italy. Meanwhile, Findiwe Newton had a tough time working with Tom Cruise on Mission Impossible 2. In a 2020 interview, she talked about a night shoot in Spain back in 2000 that turned into a nightmare. It was supposed to be a simple balcony scene, but things quickly spiraled out of control. The scene was already hard to film. Newton and Cruz's characters were supposed to argue, but the director, John Woo, didn't speak English on set. This left the actors with little help, and the tension kept building. Cruz wasn't happy with how Newton was acting in the scene. Instead of working through it calmly, he suggested they switch roles. Newton would play his character, and he'd play hers. He thought it might help, but for Newton, it made everything worse. She felt terrified and insecure, like she was doing everything wrong. Newton remembered noticing something strange about Cruz that night. At the start of the shoot, there was a small red mark on his nose. By the end of the night, it had turned into a big white head. To her, it felt like a symbol of her own stress growing bigger and bigger as the night went on. After it was over, Newton felt awful. She talked to another director, Jonathan Demme, and blamed herself for what happened. Later, Cruz called her, and she thought he might apologize. Instead, he told her they'd be redoing the scene. During the reshoot, she gave him what he wanted, an alpha bitch performance. But she didn't think this was the best way to get great acting from someone. Fast forward. In July 2022, Mickey Rourke caused a stir when he appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored. During the interview, he criticized Tom Cruise in a way that shocked Hollywood. At the time, Cruise was celebrating a huge moment in his career. Top Gun: Maverick had just made over $1 billion at the box office. But Rourke dismissed Cruise's success, saying it didn't matter, and even called him irrelevant. He argued that Cruise's acting career, spanning 35 years, lacked depth and artistic value. For Rourke, being a great actor isn't about making hit movies. It's about taking risks and transforming yourself for every role. Moreover, Tom Cruise and Matt Lauer clashed in a very intense Today Show interview on June 24, 2005. It started as a regular talk about Cruise's movie, War of the Worlds, but things quickly got heated. Cruise was upset because Brooke Shields had talked about using antidepressants after having her baby. As a Scientologist, Cruz believed psychiatry was a pseudoscience and said antidepressants weren't real solutions. He argued there was no such thing as a chemical imbalance. Lauer tried to question him, but Cruz got more aggressive, saying Lauer didn't have all the facts and calling Shields' views harmful. The argument got so tense that it became one of the most talked about interviews on TV. Brooke Shields later defended herself in a New York Times article, standing by her decisions and challenging Cruz's beliefs. The moment became a defining example of Cruz's commitment to Scientology clashing with mainstream opinions. Leah Remini, once a dedicated Scientologist herself, has since revealed troubling stories about Cruz. After Cruz's COVID-19 rant on the Mission Impossible 7 set went viral in 2020, Remini claimed it was all for show. She said Scientologists don't even believe in the pandemic, seeing it as something meant to provoke reactions. She also shared stories about Cruz's temper, including an incident where he reportedly got angry because his staff didn't have the right ingredients for cookies. On the Mission Impossible set, Cruz's behavior reportedly caused 5 staff members to quit. After another meltdown, according to Remini, has been shaped by Scientology leader David Miscavige, turning him into someone she called an abusive dictator. She also suggested Cruz's public rants are planned to make him look heroic, hiding a much darker side of his personality. Tom Cruise's relationship with John Travolta has also been filled with tension, even though both are major figures in Scientology. They've reportedly competed for years to be the church's top star under leader David Miscavige. Things hit a breaking point in 2008 when Cruise was given Scientology's biggest award, the Freedom Medal of Valor. Travolta, who had always been told he was the most loyal member, was furious. He even skipped Cruise's wedding to Katie Holmes, which was a huge deal in their circle. Insiders have said that Cruise gets special treatment, like gifts and direct access to Miscavige, while Travolta doesn't get the same privileges. Travolta was so upset that he reportedly dictated a letter demanding answers about the award. Scientology representatives have denied these claims, but the rivalry between the two actors is hard to ignore. And there are shocking stories about Tom Cruise and his personal life. In February 2001, Tom Cruise shocked Nicole Kidman by filing for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. She didn't see it coming, and it left her heartbroken. At the same time, her acting career was reaching new heights. Just 2 years later, she won an Oscar for her role in The Hours. But instead of feeling joy, she was filled with sadness. Her personal life was in pieces, and it made the moment feel hollow. The night she won her Oscar showed just how deeply she was hurting. She went to the Vanity Fair party, holding the award everyone dreams of winning. But she couldn't celebrate. She left early, went back to her hotel, and sat on the floor eating takeout with her family. In that quiet moment, she realized what she really wanted. I need to find love, she thought. I need love in my life. The divorce wasn't just about two people breaking up. It came with other challenges. Scientology, the religion Cruise followed, played a big role. After the split, the church reportedly labeled Kidman as a suppressive person. This made it harder for her to stay close to the two kids she and Cruise had adopted. Things became even more tense in 2005 during a TV interview. When a reporter asked Cruise if Kidman was the love of his life, he got angry. "You're stepping over the line now," he warned. "Put your manners back in." Despite all this pain, both Cruise and Kidman eventually moved on. Kidman found love with country singer Keith Urban. When he surprised her with gardenias on her birthday after just 6 months of dating, she knew he was the one. They got married in 2006 in Australia. Cruise, meanwhile, married Katie Holmes, but even that didn't go well. In 2012, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes ended their marriage in record time. Their divorce was finalized in just 2 weeks, shocking everyone in Hollywood. Usually, high-profile divorces with lots of money and property take months, sometimes years, but this one was different. Katie had planned everything carefully. She even used disposable phones to secretly talk to lawyers and make her escape from the marriage as smooth as possible. It was clear she knew exactly what she was doing. When it came to money, Katie made some interesting choices. She didn't ask for spousal support, which many people expected. Instead, she focused on their daughter, Suri. Tom agreed to pay $400,000 a year in child support until Suri turns 18. He also covered all her health care and school expenses. On top of that, a trust fund was set up for Suri. She'll get access to some of it when she's 18, but most of it is locked away until she's in her 30s. Katie also kept their huge Beverly Hills mansion, worth $35 million, and her expensive jewelry collection. She walked away with plenty, even without spousal support. The biggest surprise, though, was the custody agreement. Katie got full physical custody of Suri. This is rare in celebrity divorces, where joint custody is usually the norm. She wanted control over Suri's daily life, including decisions about her education and religion. And she got it. Tom only has visitation rights. Katie filed for divorce in New York because the courts there are more likely to give one parent full custody. It was a smart move, and it worked in her favor. In late 2004, Nazanin Boniati's life took a strange and unsettling turn. The Church of Scientology picked her for a secret mission, which they called a special project. She had no idea what it was about at first. They made her change her looks. She had to take off her braces, fix her hair, and even break up with her longtime boyfriend. Soon, she learned the truth. She had been chosen to be Tom Cruise's girlfriend. At first, it might have seemed like a dream, but it quickly became a nightmare. Boniati was flown to New York and placed under constant watch. She was never left alone with Cruise and was always surrounded by Scientology handlers. Even her appearance wasn't good enough for Cruise. He demanded that she filed down her teeth to look better. Every day, She was forced to spend hours cleansing her mind of any bad thoughts about him. The control over her life was overwhelming. She wasn't allowed to make mistakes. Once, she used the words, "very well done," when speaking to Cruz, and it was taken as an insult, as if she thought he was beneath her. For this, she was punished with intense and exhausting auditing sessions. Another time, she made a small social mistake in front of Scientology leader David Miscavige, which made things even worse. By January 2005, the relationship ended suddenly. Boniati, heartbroken and confused, opened up to a friend about what she had gone through. Instead of support, she faced harsh punishments. She was forced to scrub toilets with a toothbrush, clean tiles with acid, and dig ditches late at night. She was yelled at, called a horrible person, and made to sell Scientology books on the street. It was humiliating and cruel. This experience was a turning point for Boniati. She eventually left Scientology, distancing herself from the church and its practices. Years later, she shared her story with the FBI, revealing the full extent of how the church controlled her life and her relationship with Tom Cruise.